What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Today, we're going to be taking a look at DAWs. Now, if you don't know what a DAW is, it stands for Digital Audio Workstation, and it's the program that you're going to be using to record audio from your microphone into your computer. And specifically, we're going to be talking about FL Studio, which is what I use. And if you read the article on the website called Getting Started for Under $250, the four things that you need, you'll see that the $99 version of FL Studio is the one that I recommend for everyone who's just getting into home audio recording to use. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be comparing it to Pro Tools, and I'm going to give you 5 reasons why I think that FL Studio is better than Pro Tools. Now, if you don't know what Pro Tools is what they call the industry standard DAW, which basically means that any studio that you go into, any professional studio that you go into, 99% of the time they're going to be using Pro Tools. Now, that doesn't mean that it's the best. In fact, I think that FL Studio is the best DAW out there. But that's just my opinion, and there's a lot of people out there that feel like that too. And I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you should use FL Studio over the industry standard. So, the first reason is the price. So, the very top of the line version of FL Studio is $499. But to get started, you can buy it for $99. Now, that doesn't come with all of the plugins that the $499 version does, but the $99 version is more than enough to get you started into recording great sounding audio. Pro Tools, on the other hand, is over $1,000. Now, they do have a cheaper, more limited version. I think it's about $200, and then they do have a free version, but that's a super limited version. FL Studio will let you use it for free. They call it the demo, and the only thing that's limited on it is you can't save project files. So if you're on a super tight budget, you can use the free version of FL Studio with no limitations. You just can't save project files. So as soon as you're done with the audio, you export it and then you'll lose that project file forever. And then they also have two other versions, the $199 producer edition and the $299 signature bundle. I went with the $200 version a couple years ago, and that brings me to point number two, which is free lifetime updates. Once you buy FL Studio, you will get free lifetime updates forever. So every time they come out with a new version, you will automatically get it. With Pro Tools, you get 2 years of updates, and then after that, you're asked out. So then, if you want the newest version, you'll have to pay that $1,000 again or that $200 again, whatever their mid-grade option is. I think it's around $200 to $300. Number three is the user interface and the user friendliness. If you look at FL Studio, it's much more user friendly than Pro Tools. All of your tracks are already there. The mixer window is already there. And by the way, FL Studio has the best mixer out of any DAW. Go and try some other DAWs, download their demo versions. The mixer in FL Studio is by far superior to any other DAW that you can get. With Pro Tools, you have to manually add each new track. And for someone who's just getting started, you might not know where everything is, where your mixer's at. And it's just really not very intuitive for beginners. Whereas FL Studio, on the other hand, is everything is right there where you need it, up front, up center, and it's just a much better layout, much better design than Pro Tools. Reason number four, the plugins that you get with FL Studio are far superior to me than Pro Tools. Now, this is a matter of personal opinion and taste, but pretty much every song that I've ever recorded, I have mixed with these stock plugins in FL Studio. It's very easy to add new plugins, and you can do that if you want to. There's a lot of great plugins out there. I personally like the SSL plugins, but we'll get into that later. But with FL Studio, you get much more plugins. Even with the $99 version, you get more plugins with FL Studio with the baseline version than you do with the $1,000 version of Pro Tools. Now, to be fair, people that are using Pro Tools, like in these professional studios, 9 times out of 10, they're using other third party plugins that they've bought. But still, again, for someone who's just getting started, you can't go wrong with all of these stock plugins that FL Studio has. It has everything that you need to get started. You won't need to download any third party plugins. You definitely can if you want to, but you don't have to because, like I said, it has everything that you need. Now, Pro Tools does have enough plugins to get you started. But to me, the ones in FL Studio, it goes back to user friendliness, and you have a much better selection of stock plugins than you get with Pro Tools. And one in particular, the parametric EQ in FL Studio is called parametric EQ 2. It's the second version. Is far superior than the parametric EQ in Pro Tools. You get 7 bands to EQ versus 5 with Pro Tools, I think. They might have changed it, but I don't think they did. And the parametric EQ in FL Studio gives you a visual representation of all of the frequencies that are playing while you are EQing. Okay, so reason number 5. In FL Studio, you can actually make your own instrumentals or beats. You can do the same thing in Pro Tools by importing tracks, but in FL Studio, you can actually create your own drum loops, your own music patterns. You can completely make a beat from start to finish from scratch without any samples in FL Studio. They have a ton of stock instruments and sound loops and drum patches that you can use. Pro Tools doesn't come with any of that. Pro Tools is strictly just for recording and mixing, not for beat creation, and that's an added benefit to FL Studio that Pro Tools doesn't have. Years and years and years ago, when I first started using FL Studio, that's actually what I started using it for, was making my own beats. Now, they weren't any good, but I didn't have to go and look for other samples if I didn't want to. And also, FL Studio comes with a bunch of demo projects that you can open up and see how the producer arranged everything and mixed it, and what kind of plugins and effects that he used. So if you're just getting started into producing or beat making, you can kind of use them as like little tutorials and create your own remixes and things like that. That's kind of how I got started. It was a very helpful tool that I used. And again, that's something that Pro Tools just doesn't give you. So there you go. That's a real quick list of why I think FL Studio is better than Pro Tools. There's many more other reasons, and I'm sure we'll get into that later. But to me, I definitely think that FL Studio is the more superior digital audio workstation, and I think it's the one that you should choose. And it's the one that this channel and the website is going to focus on mainly because, like I said, it's the one that I recommend for everybody to use who's just getting started. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try other DAWs. Go out there, download the demo versions of all the other ones out there, and see which one you like best. There's a ton of tutorials on YouTube for whichever DAW that you use. It just so happens that FL Studio is the one that I prefer, is the one that I choose. And you're starting to see more and more producers and beat makers use it just because of its versatility and its flexibility. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.
The 9 planets align, my mind standing sublime. A rap addict combined, an acrobatical mind designed to damage your spine and crack clavicles. And I'm the most fly, most high. Don't step or you're most deaf, take your last breath. Yes, if you violate it, you get annihilated quick. Cause your style ain't equipped to be a tiny little blip on my dilated dick. I ain't fucking around, I'm wrapping circles around a circle jerk while I'm jerking in a turban, lurking at a circus in a girdle, smirking like a Merkel. Got you nervous, man, I murder any hurdle. I've been fucking this game, you better hope she ain't fertile. I'm losing my noodle and going cuckoo, cause I know that I can do anything that you do. I just do it better whenever, wherever, forever. There'll never be another veteran that can better anything I've ever said. I fucking murder the mic, then have a funeral and dig it up and kill it again. Every rap I speak becomes a masterpiece.